What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back for another video, and today we're going to be looking at TSN and looking at their free agent frenzy top 30 list. Now, I'm going to pull up the list beside me so you guys can look at it at the same time as me. I'll probably show you guys when it gets to like the top 15, or maybe I'll split it in half so you guys can see everything. But this video is basically just going to be having a discussion, talking about probably more of the better players towards the top of the list, about where they might go, maybe the latest that we've heard on them. And again, I do not have inside sources. I just read a lot of articles, and maybe you guys have some insight. So put it down below. Have you guys been reading stuff about some of these free agents? Make sure to put it down below and maybe take some guesses on where some people will go. I appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. That'd be awesome if you want to stick around here. So let's look at the top 30 free agents currently according to TSN. Now, it's already June. Like, we're not very far away from when the NHL draft starts, and I'll have some draft stuff coming up here in the next couple days. Lots of really cool stuff. And then we've got the NHL free agency that starts on July 1st. So it's getting really close to some really fun times with trades and signings. This is the best time of the year. So, just quickly at the bottom of the list, at number 30, we have Brian Boyle, of course. He played with Nashville this year. He is a very serviceable player. Again, some people towards the bottom I'm not going to talk too much about, but Boyle could get a contract. Chason played pretty well with the Oilers this year. He's definitely going to be looking for a little bit of a pay raise. He took a pretty significant cut. He was at $650,000, but he actually did okay with the Oilers this year. So maybe the Oilers try to keep him around as a depth guy. He'll probably be looking for a little bit too much because the Oilers are a little bit in a bit of cap trouble, because they want to, bring in better players. Patrick Maroon, obviously I'm recording this the day before Game 7, so Maroon's been doing all right for St. Louis, especially in the playoffs. So as a depth guy, he made his right choice to go to St. Louis. He wanted to play there. His family loves it, and I think he's from there as well. Or at least he's got family there or something. I don't know, but he wanted to take a shot to play there. I'm almost positive he's from there, but he's looked good in the playoffs, and a team's definitely going to want to keep him, and maybe St. Louis is that team. Ron Hainsey, it looks like Toronto might be bringing him back on a one-year deal. It's been discussed. So Ron Hainsey might be back. He was a decent option for the Leafs, and they don't have a ton of options on the blue line. That's going to be a major thing for them this offseason. Wouldn't be surprised if he's back. Colin Wilson, another good option. Colorado, maybe he stays there because Colorado does have a lot of money to work with. Not the best season, but again, a decent player that can fill the bottom six of any team. Ben Chariot from Winnipeg, another defenseman on this list. Lefty man. Pretty cheap contract last year. Probably will be a bit of an upgrade in pay for him. I don't expect Winnipeg to hold on to him unless he takes a significant cut, not from 1.4, but from what the market price might be. It's not going to be anything crazy, but at the same time, defensemen, a lot of people need defensemen these days, and he might be looking for a little bit of money, and he might get it. Jonas Donskoy from San Jose, they've got a lot of really good, talented players. I'm sure that San Jose, again, is a team that I'd love to hold on to him. They might be able to. He might be cheaper than some of the guys that they have to re-sign, so they might have to keep him. And it won't be that bad of a thing. Donskoy is a pretty great player. Again, you're going to hear the same thing for a lot of these guys at the bottom, because they're usually like depth role player type of players, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just there's nothing too deep to go into them with here, like knowledge-wise here, because they're depth players, they're role players, and again, that's not to knock them, because I'm sure somebody's favorite player is Maroon or Donskoy. Again, not knocking them, they're just good role players. Brendan Tanev on Winnipeg, another guy who's going to get a decent raise. He's a guy that I'm sure, again, Winnipeg, a team that needs to re-sign a bunch of guys, they would like to keep him, but the money might not be there, and he's going to be looking for a bit of an upgrade in pay. Now, again, nothing too crazy over his former $1.15 million cap hit, but definitely more than that. So they're going to have to work with him. Brett Connolly from Washington, another pretty talented player here on the list. There's a lot of really good free agents this year as depth players, and there's some even on this list that I figure could have been at the bottom of this list. Like a guy like Tyler Ennis. I know I'm a Leafs fan, but he actually was quite good without the injuries for the Leafs this year. So he's another guy that could play here. But again, getting back to this, Brett Connolly, Pretty solid season this year. He had 46 points, so he'll be looking for a bit of an upgrade in pay, and I'm sure Washington will be able to hold on to him. Braden Coburn, Tampa Bay, defenseman. They are actually looking to make some big moves this offseason, Tampa is, because they're going to have to. They're a team that actually has to work around their cap as well. And who knows, there's been rumors about them going after Carlson, so we'll have to see what Coburn, and again, people might think I'm nuts, but they are trying to clear out cap space because Carlson would like to go to Tampa to play with his buddy Hedman, so we'll have to see what happens there. But Coburn, pretty serviceable guy. I don't think that he's going to have the type of money that Tampa's not going to have the type of money that he's going to want, probably going to move on. Wayne Simmons, Nashville. He did not have a great end to his season. He wasn't very good for Nashville. Of course, this is a guy that, blood, sweat, and tears for the Flyers. And I'm sure that Simmons will get a pretty good contract. I don't know if he's going to be looking long-term, because when he was with Philly, the reason why they kind of fell apart was because he was looking for more years than Philly was willing to offer. So we'll have to see if he still looks for that long-term deal, or because of the way that he wasn't very good in the second half and in the playoffs, maybe teams are not going to be so quick to give him the money that he wants. And number 19, Anton Strawman, another defenseman that a lot of teams could probably use. Shouldn't be too expensive, that $4.5 million. I think it might be a little bit less, or I don't know, around the same. I don't know. It will be tough to gauge his market, because there's been rumors that he could be a cheaper option for a lot of teams this offseason. But the fact that, he's pretty decently high, number 19 on this list, and again, TSN isn't the end-all, be-all, or Sportsnet, whoever. I'm not knocking one network. This list doesn't matter. What the GMs are thinking is what will dictate how much money these guys get, and I think Strawman will be an interesting option for a lot of teams. And number 18, Ryan Dzingel, a guy that didn't play fantastic for Columbus, but he was pretty good in Ottawa. I'm wondering if Columbus will overpay him a little bit to stay, because they're probably going to be losing a ton of players off their roster. And by a ton, I mean a lot of players that are at the top of this list that carry a lot of weight for the team. They'll still be pretty good if they can hold on to guys like Dzingel and maybe Duchesne, and we'll get to that, but I think Dzingel will get overpaid a little bit by some team, and that's not to knock him, but I think he didn't play as well as people figured he would in Columbus. Number 17 is Kevin Hayes from Philadelphia. Now, I'm not sure. I thought that Philly had already signed him, or were they still discussing a deal with him? Now, I'm literally looking this up on my phone right now, but the thing is with this trade, and I didn't really talk about it in a video, but I'm pretty sure that it doesn't look like he got signed, but I'm pretty sure that this was a bold move, and I even tweeted it. I said it's a very bold move to trade for a guy and get rid of a pick. I'm pretty sure they got rid of like a 5th or like a 7th round pick. I thought maybe it was a 5th, but regardless, getting a guy like that and hoping that you can negotiate with him. It just said there that they were trying to make something work with him. Kevin Hayes is a good player, and I think Philly would benefit from him signing there, but I hope Hayes doesn't look like a bad guy, because he didn't, it's not like he requested a trade. They probably called up Winnipeg and was like, hey, listen, we'd like to sign him, and we want to see if he would like to talk to us. So he got traded there, and we'll have to see if they're able to keep him. Number 16, Michael Furlan with Carolina. It looks like Furlan and the Hurricanes are going to part ways. They were trying to trade him pretty early on, and it looked like it wasn't the best move for Furlan in Carolina, and he's going to move on. It's clear as day. He had 40 points last season. He's a pretty good player. I mean, he's a physical guy. He can put up points. Nothing too crazy in the point totals, 40 points, but at that age, he'll probably get a decent contract. He's 27 years old, and a lot of teams are going to be looking for that scoring and grit. At number 15, Gustav Nyquist, who actually played pretty decent with the San Jose Sharks. I'd expect him to do well in the free agent market. I think a lot of teams would benefit from getting a guy like Nyquist. I don't think he's, a top-tier type of player, but at the same time, I think that he can really add secondary scoring to a team if he's got the right line mates. So I'd be really interested to see which teams would be in on Gustav Nyquist, because he's a pretty good option. At number 14, Alex Edler, another defenseman. The Vancouver Canucks are going to be making a lot of moves this offseason, and I know they're still talking with Edler, but I think that they're going to move on. I think Vancouver is going to make a lot of moves, maybe some moves that fans don't like. I mean, they were talking about how they were going to be moving on from bad contracts and older players and stuff, and then we hear the rumors that they want to flip Eriksson for Lucic, and, they might trade for Zaitsev. I mean, if they bring back Edler on a bad contract as well and then keep all those guys, I mean, Edler's 33, he's still pretty decent, but you don't want to just pour on all these, bad moves. So hopefully, Edler's a great, he's a good player, but at the same time, they're going to be making some big moves and hopefully bringing in some younger talent for the already young core that they have. And number 13, Jordan Eberle. Haven't heard too much about the Islanders and Eberle. It kind of sounds like Eberle's going to test the market. I think some teams might overpay for Eberle. I can't remember where I heard somebody say that, but it just makes so much sense because he's one of those players where he can be good in stretches, but then if he's bad, he's not going to look good at all. So hopefully Eberle finds his spot and it's a good fit because I think he was okay with the Islanders, but I don't believe that they want to keep him because he might be looking for too much money. Number 12, Jake Gardiner, very controversial defenseman. He's been hurt a lot, but what people need to understand is that Jake Gardiner is a very underrated defenseman. Yes, does he make mistakes? Of course, he does. But if you look at defensive numbers since like 2016, and you can look it up, there's charts to show it. There's a ton of them. Go on Twitter, look it up. There's been these things posted by, these charts posted by Rahif, or I don't want to mispronounce her name, but she's a very smart, intelligent Leaf fan, and she posts these charts that show defensive metrics and stuff. And, the first time that I talked to her on Twitter, she showed me up because I was wrong. I was like talking about a certain player. I'm like, no, like she's like, no, look at these numbers. And I was like, oh my God, like, where did you get this from? And she showed me everything, and she's continued to post stuff like that. And Jake Gardiner's underrated. He's going to get paid quite a bit, and the latest rumors is that he'd like to go home and play in Minnesota or play in Chicago. Again, not too positive on how accurate that is, but he could be a great fit for either of those teams. Number 11, Robin Lehner, or Lehner. Some people mispronounce his name. I don't know if I'm saying it correct or not, but some people say Lehner, some people say Lehner. He had a really good season. He's going to get a massive, massive pay upgrade. Now, whether or not it's an overpayment, I don't know, but it's looking like he's going to get some big bucks, putting up huge numbers, 2.13 goals against average, 0.930 save percentage, and he was only making $1.5 million. Now's the time for him to cash in on a big contract. He's only 27, but I don't think teams will want to go too long term, and I think the Islanders will want to keep him around. Whether or not he can stay good, I don't know, but hopefully he does. Number 10, Marcus Johansson from Boston. I'm surprised he's this high up on the list because personally I would have him probably under Jake Gardiner and Lehner right above Eberle. I think he's a great player, and I don't think he's been fantastic for Boston. Of course, he's been hurt. But at the same time, pretty good, 30 points last season. He only played in 58 games, so with a full season, he's probably banking 50 points at least, maybe 45 to 50 points. He's a pretty good player. Boston's probably not going to hold on to him, and we'll have to see where he ends up. I honestly couldn't tell you where he was going to go because I think that he's too high on this list. And number 9, Matt Zuccarello. Dallas would love to keep him. Dallas would really love to keep him. And with 40 points last season, he looked really good. He was injured, but 40 points in 48 games played. He looked great in Dallas. I think he'd be a really good fit for them, secondary scoring-wise. And, Dallas needs more scorers. And, I think he'd be a solid fit to stay there. And number 8, Joe Pavelski. This one's interesting. I was almost guaranteeing myself that he would be staying in San Jose, but if the money's not right, maybe that doesn't happen. I still think that he will, but at the same time, San Jose's got a lot of decisions to make. I know they'd like to keep him. They want to hold on to their good talent and their players that have played for them their whole career. And Pavelski is a really great guy, great player, and I think that they're going to try everything to keep him. But the dollars, it's going to have to be high. Pavelski's still going to want a good contract, 64 points in 75 games played. Number 7, Tyler Myers. This is another controversial one because Winnipeg is going to have to make some big moves, and they might not be able to hold on to Myers even if they trade Trouba. Myers and Trouba are both looking for big money. Trouba being an RFA, Myers being a unrestricted free agent. Trouba, I believe, still has arbitration rights, so they'll definitely be going to arbitration if they don't trade him, but it's looking like they're going to. With Myers, $5.5 million, that cap hit's going to go up, and I don't know if Winnipeg is going to be able to handle it. I know they want to re-sign him, but big, right-handed shot defenseman, 30 points in 80 games played, but, he's pretty decent on both ends of the ice, and they're going to want to keep him. It's just whether or not they have the money to. They've got a lot of guys to sign and big contracts kicking in. At number 6, Anders Lee, the captain of the New York Islanders. I'm pretty sure he's not going to want to leave because he's seeing what happened to John Tavares when he came back, and they've been discussing a deal, but I believe he's going to get severely overpaid. And I think Lee is a good player, don't get me wrong, but I do believe that Lou Lamoriello is going to overpay to keep Anders Lee. Jeff Skinner, he's number 5 here, but he just re-signed with the Buffalo Sabres. His cap hits at like $9 million. I still think Jeff Skinner got overpaid. I didn't want to make a video on it because I know a lot of people were just going to flood the comments with Mitch Marner comparisons, and that kind of sucks because I wanted to talk about Jeff Skinner, but he got a huge deal in Buffalo. I believe it was 8 years, 7 or 8 years, and he got a massive cap hit of $9 million. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but I do believe they overpaid by a little bit. I would have been comfortable with him at 8.5 or 8.7, but again, they got to keep those guys around. You pay a little bit more to keep guys in Buffalo, and that's no disrespect, but that's what they did. Number 4, Matt Duchene. He's been rumored to go just about everywhere at this point, but it looks like it's being narrowed down to the Montreal Canadiens or Nashville Predators. It's too early to tell if this is accurate stuff, but all the best in the business are saying that all signs are pointing. Jesus, guys, I'm telling you right now, I worked for 8 hours today. I went and cut grass. I filmed videos for my other channel, and now I'm filming this one. I apologize if I'm out of it. But basically what I'm trying to say is he likely is going to sign with Montreal or Nashville. That's the information that's out right now. But there's a ton of time left before free agency. And by a ton, I mean like 3 weeks, so not really. But he's got decisions to make, and he doesn't have to sign on July 1st either, so... Next is Sergei Bobrovsky, a guy that I believe will end up in Florida somehow. I think that they're going to trade one of Reimer or Luongo, try to get rid of those contracts. It'll be really tough unless Luongo ends up on some injured reserve, which I don't think he will. But Reimer, they're going to have to attach something to him to get rid of him, and he's got a big contract. There might be some other moves in Florida to get rid of some dollars. But Bobrovsky, I think, is going to end up there. 2.53 goals against, or save percentage, goals against average. My God, I'm out of it. 2.53 goals against average, .913 save percentage. He's going to get overpaid too, in my eyes. I think he's a great goalie, but he is going to get a little bit overpaid. Speaking of overpaid, another guy that might be getting overpaid is Erik Karlsson. Now, this is no disrespect again. I'm a huge fan of Erik Karlsson, but if he's still looking for that $11.5 million contract, and he still has these injury problems, I don't know if teams are going to want to pay that much money, because he'll always get the points, 45 points in 53 games played. He's not good defensively. He's pretty bad, actually. But offensively, he's insanely gifted, and that's what you're paying for. He provides a great veteran presence in the room as well, but you don't pay $11.5 million for that. But he makes up for it in points regardless of his defensive abilities. And I think Karlsson's going to get overpaid. I do, by probably like $400,000 or $500,000. And if he stays healthy, then it's not that much of an overpayment. But if he doesn't, it's going to be tough. And number 1, Artemi Panarin. People get mad when I say that name as well. But 27 years old, 87 points in 79 games played. It's pointing to Florida again. A lot of teams are thinking that, or a lot of GMs and a lot of people around the league apparently are thinking that there could be a Panarin back or to Florida, or the possibility if Chicago can make it work, maybe he wants to go there and play with Patty Kane again, but I really think him and Bobrovsky could end up in Florida. It seems like it'd be a good fit. It's been rumored for a while now, so we'll have to see what happens, but that's just my early predictions. I'll probably do it again. I've already went through this list once before, but it was a little while ago. But there's going to be more draft stuff coming up, a lot of rumor videos, you guys are going to see a lot. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. I'd love to have more hockey conversations with you. Join the squad. Let's get to 6,000 subscribers. I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.